Greetings, Eric Backer, naturopath. Thank you for coming back. I've got a question here from a subscriber called Attol Safaar. And Mr. Safaar, or Miss Safaar, I'm not sure if it's Mr. or Mrs. I'm witnessing myself not recovering from a Candida, and I'm desperate. Even though I have Candida diet for 3 months, I'm not consuming 1 gram of sugar. I'm doing exercise 4 times per week, but seeing no results. What should I do? Please help. Now, in Mr. or Mrs. or Miss or whatever it is, Safaar's case, we can see here clearly a couple of key things, right? I get my highlight pen, and this is what I'm doing. Okay, first we're going to go desperate, then we highlight Candida diet, then we can highlight sugar, exercise 4 times a week. Okay. Now, if you look at the keywords I've highlighted here for this question for this person, it's desperate, diet, sugar, exercise. So again, this is clearly an example of a focus on food and a focus on exercise, but not much focus perhaps on other areas. So Attol, my question to you is, have you done any testing to determine whether you have Candida or not? Okay, so never make assumptions. I've said this 1 billion times on this channel. Don't assume you've got Candida. You may not have Candida at all. You may have an infection with Citrobacter or Pseudomonas, or there could be a huge overgrowth of a parasite. So please, please get checked, all right? Before you pull the trigger on something, make sure you know what's standing in front of you, all right? So you've got to match up the bullet with the target. Now, in your case here, we don't know what kind of target you got or what kind of bullets you're using, so just be careful. Exercise may be contraindicated for you. You may have adrenal problems. You could have stress axis dysfunction, all right? So in this case, when you exercise, you're in fact hampering your recovery from Candida. You're putting yourself back. So you could be pushing your body too hard when it needs to have more time to recover. Maybe you need to work on deeper sleep cycles, improve your sleep. Maybe you're looking at the wrong type of diet. Avoiding sugar strictly is not necessarily a guarantee that you're going to eradicate Candida. Other factors come into play, very important factors. So please have a look at my book, Candida Crusher, because there are a lot of good hints and tips in the book on what to do when you don't recover from Candida. Everybody talks about recovery, but people never talk about what happens when it all turns to custard and you don't recover, right? Well, when you don't recover, you work out first, are you correct in your assumption to treat what you think you've got, all right? When you've worked out exactly what you've got, then it's worth working out a plan on how you can get rid of this stuff, how you can improve. And in some cases, bugs need eradicating before beneficial bacteria can come back again. In other cases, digestive function needs restoring before bugs can be eradicated. So working with a practitioner who understands these processes is paramount for your recovery. What concerns me about patients such as yourself is your emotional state. Because once you've had 1, 2, or 3 failed attempts at recovery, it tends to bring a heightened sense of anxiety and depression and all these ill feelings. And then you go to Dr. Google, and Dr. Google just adds a little bit more acid onto the whole mix and makes you feel even worse. So then you're going to sit down there and get really upset. And that's going to cause more stress, which will affect your immune system's response and your cortisol, which will allow you to keep that Candida going in that pool if you've got Candida. So what do we do with someone like you? Attol, get tested first, stool testing. See an integrative medical practitioner or a naturopath or someone you can talk to, preferably with a stool test result, and say, this is what I've got, what can I do? There's always a way out. Every problem has a solution. We just have to find the solution. But also we have to really understand the problem before we can find the solution. I hope that helps, my friend. Thank you for looking at my channel.